All right. Whoa. Would be nice if I bring the microphone in the house. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem if I don't have the microphone and I don't speak on the front of the microphone. So, whoa, we got excited people here. Well, yeah, Dr. Goodman. Wow. Yeah. All right. Hey, we're going to start in a few minutes. How are you doing since this afternoon?
I'm doing just fine. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Something funny actually. I was looking at my website, and this week, for the topic and the small videos or short videos, not small, short videos, was actually how to build a website to make it successful. And you were talking about the website, which is funny. About
Okay.
your website, yeah. Yeah,
So,
I
so
was. Denise is probably don't know, but Dr. Goodman just landed on my teaching class, and I do here on Wisdom about the strategy and building website and getting the right messages when you're a business owner and you don't know, and the cross sales, the upsells, the down sales, etc., etc. So Dr. Goodman just decided to claim and ask about his website. And I said we needed to talk to the boss first as well, but talking about, setting up the right messages and everything and explaining to, it was a good example actually, talking about, in the process of revamping his website. So, but yeah, there is a little video on my website about marketing and revamping and putting the
Oh,
right
good. I'll
messages.
check it out.
I will send you the link for that
Okay.
as well. So, but very informative and stuff like that. So that's what I was speaking about today. What I've been speaking quite since last week. So, but we're gonna wait a little for maybe a
I
minute or two
can't
to
hear
get
it
more
now.
people
It
and get
works.
it started with.
Is the volume up?
that's what I was saying.
Hold
Is it?
on. We're having some communication issues here.
Yeah, I sound like your voice went down.
My voice is down.
Okay.
Hold on.
We've got the
Okay, let's see.
volume all
It's
the way up.
okay. Give me one sec on my side. See if I can. I should not go down, but it feels like okay. It feels like it's going down now. It's a little bit
Yes.
better.
Yeah, it
Okay,
did.
it depends on my microphone has multiple microphone in there, so it depends in which area where I'm talking, and then also then it will pick up where it's supposed to pick up. So I always have to twist that microphone for some unknown reason. I love
Oh,
that microphone. It's a good one, but still has his own temperament.
okay. Well, we've got 9 people in the room.
Okay, do you want to get started with the topic of tonight, which is communication? And we talk, and I mentioned to people you will do an exercise a little bit later on that nobody should be doing with their partners because that should not be a good idea. That you're going to demonstrate and talk about as well some tips on how to communicate as well, giving us a good tips. So I'm going to leave you the floor for the two of you and let you have it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some basic things about communicating as a couple are obviously true for any kind of interpersonal communication. Just for example, don't talk at the same time. Listen. Okay, when we all can do that. We've done it, the three of us. At times we've started talking over each other, and then you can't hear what anybody is saying, and usually it's very narcissistic because the speakers are more interested in what it is they have to say than listening to what it is that you may be trying to communicate with them. So that's a losing cycle. Um, so having the discipline to, um, you know, stop interrupting each other, and if the tension is so high that find you can't do that, everybody, the individuals want to talk at the same time and interrupt each other, it's better to stop and cool down and come back, when you can be more rational. Um, yeah.
Yes, it's just like now. I raised my hand to get the attention, so I wouldn't just like.
That was
T-
great.
yes,
Thank you.
yes, and that's again, you're sticking with the basics.
Yeah. And I've done that in business meetings, like when I just could not get a word in edgewise and I just was like be tired of trying to break in. I put my arm up in the air, which startles people because they're not used to that, and it was really making the point, hey, I want to say something, so you guys need to stop and listen. So, there's ways to implement this without offending each other. The other thing that is think before you speak. One of our mentors said, words are deeds, and that's true. You can't take it back once you've said things, and a lot of times people say things to their intimate partner out of anger, but sometimes it's deep-seated resentment, and just know that you need to think about the impact of what it is you're going to say, and do you really want to say that? I mean, there are things once said cannot be unsaid, and all things cannot be unsaid. And, uh, you know, if something is particularly hurtful to a person, sometimes the intimate partner will use that, against them, by saying, reminding them that, you know, of something about them or their life that isn't pleasant or is critical. So think before you ask. Before you speak. There's a story about a woman who went on a date with a guy, and she said she wanted to go to the opera, and that she wanted him to wear a tuxedo and take her in a limousine, and then when they got there, she was critical about everything. She said the car is not a real limousine. The opera tickets are too far up, um, and she didn't like his tux. Well, that made the guy. The guy went out of his way to get tickets and get a limo and a tux. And so instead of acknowledging that, she just found everything wrong. Yeah.
As well as he got his friend to drive for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so
So he had a chauffeur.
He had a chauffeur.
Wow.
And she wasn't really thrilled about none of it because it wasn't a limo.
Uh-huh.
And that was the whole thing she was really angry about. It wasn't what she asked for. But if she just had appreciated that,
she could have had more.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, she didn't. And so, like 9 out of 10, if she's not going to appreciate what she have now, she probably ain't going to appreciate what she have later.
That's right. Okay. Are we still on?
Yes, you are. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So another thing, when you do communicate with your spouse or partner, you should remember that, what is your goal? If your goal is to make the relationship bond better, then it's worth putting time into being deliberate about your communication style, and what it is that you say and do. Try to understand what the other person you know, feeling, and why they do what they do. Um, you know, you want to consider their feelings. You know, it's not like you're just delivering a straight up functional communication like you might, you know, completing a minor business transaction in a store. You know, hello, here, you pay for this thing, and you know, hello, goodbye, thank you. You know, those interactions don't have to be special, but when you're talking with your intimate partner, you need to pay attention to what you're saying. Um, and you know, another thing that we advise is, um, don't don't bring up things that happened a long time ago. You know, especially if something was unresolved, or you know, I mean, it was resolved. You know, saying things like, you know, you do this, or you always do this, or you never do this. You know, it's not helpful. You know,
So
we could all sit there and, you know, bring up things that happened last week, last year, 10 years ago, whatever it was. But is that really important now? And what is your goal in bringing that up? If it's something negative, then there's absolutely no point in it. Um, you know, people like us who've been together for a long time have all had all kinds of stuff go on in our relationship, all kinds of stuff, good, bad, fun, not fun, you know, all of it. um, it's how you respond to the situations, and how you know, decide to go forward, that matters.
Like a cup of coffee?
What I'm going um uh you know, something that comes up a lot with people, it doesn't with us because we have that worked out, but um, like, people accuse the other person often of doing something like cheating on them, if that's the right word, or lying, or something about being untruthful. It doesn't help to accuse somebody of something that they didn't do or didn't intend to do. You know, the nonsense about, you know, being jealous and accusing somebody of having like, say, cheating, for example. If it's not real, and you don't know it for sure, why are you bothering to try to bring this crap up, when it's just your own insecurity?
Yeah, right. Now, just like earlier, I should, well, I'm out of coffee. I'm going to make another cup of coffee. Even though she got coffee in her cup, I asked her, would you like a fresher cup of coffee? No, not just assuming that since I'm out of coffee, I'm going to make coffee. She have coffee, you know, so it's just being respectful to each other, you know, and having that communication go, just keep going, not assuming.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
And actually, Emma, did you have a question?
I had one, but she kind of answered it because I was ready to play the devil advocate and I say and asking, well, how far back can you go and blame?
well,
Just
it
me.
depends what your
Just
goal is. If your goal is to destroy the relationship, you
yeah.
can, like, you can go back to just about everything, you know. I mean, but what is your goal, you know, really?
So
And
if it's if okay, so let me ask you this because that's I like that talk we're having right now, that conversation, because if a person, let's say, you don't feel they acknowledge what they have done, or they're trying to avoid to take responsibility of their actions, and you bring it up to the table over and over, so what do you do about this?
well, you know, you got to reevaluate your relationships with people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you know, is I guess you really, if that were me, what I would do is I would ask myself, is this a person that I want to be intimately involved with? It's like there are some women or people, men or women or whoever, that when they're dating, they always want the one that they can't have. They like this guy and he's not interested in them, or they like this girl and she's not interested in them. Well, here's the thought. Why would you be interested in somebody who's not interested in you? Pining away after this person. It's the same with your question, Emma. It's like if somebody's just unwilling to work towards, better understanding and communication, maybe you don't want to be with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes people just stay together for convenience or the kids or whatever it is. But and if that's what you choose to do, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But just be aware of what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. So if you decide to stay with this jerk, then
I love Denise. It's like take the baseball bat and
Be straight
smash
about it.
that person
yeah,
behind
I'm
the
being nice. I'm not
head.
using any
I
profanity.
didn't saw this one coming. Holy moly! I take the swing out of it. But yeah, because the question at the end of the day is, you can bring things up, and if the person don't want to be accountable for their action, like you said, it's your choice to decide to stay in a relationship or not, or reevaluate why you're sticking around. But
Right.
it would be nice if the person take accountability as well.
Yeah, people,
Mm-hmm.
and we know a lot of people who have, you know, quote unconventional relationships. That maybe they have, whatever arrangements they have are just not typical, two in a box, with a couple of kids, and having a conscious reality about what your relationship is like now and
Mm-hmm.
how you want it to be. And if that's not how it is, what do you do to get into agreement with the two?
Mm-hmm.
We've, like we said to you, Emma, in another uh, session, we've had all kinds of different arrangements in our relationship. We've lived in the same house, on the same property, but not in the same house, in the same house, 3 floors apart. In the same house, all kind in different states. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we've had all kinds of different arrangements, and um, it doesn't matter, because we were conscious about what we were doing, and we maintained connection and we stayed in
Yes,
communication no
yes,
matter
that's
what.
right. That's what I was
um,
just gonna say. We maintain that connection, and so the level of communication we had with each other, we have with each other, is like I said, a look, and we can do that, and really think about, okay, she's thinking about dinner, and she's thinking about going out to dinner. It's things that I can put my attention on her, or what it is that she wants,
Mm-hmm.
and she can do the same for me, you know.
Yep.
And she always comes and says, "Are you hungry? I brought you down dinner." She would bring me down grapes and uh,
I'm
uh,
always eating, he's skinny.
yeah, I ain't that skinny. I weigh 165
You're
pounds.
thin, and
Well, I always been thin. No, I'm small, bony, but I'm solid. I weigh 172 pounds. I was real surprised at that, But
with your 32-inch waist. Really,
I wasn't even going to say anything about that. Uh,
No,
I
I
used to
love the
get.
way you said it.
yeah, I was in Costco the other day, and they had some really nice sweatpants for men with the liner Eddie Bauer, and they were on sale. They only had large, extra large, extra extra large. No medium. It was like they'll be too big on him.
That's not good.
Yeah. So, you know, the key thing here is respect. You know, we've all observed people who respect each other or
Mm-hmm.
respect others, and it feels good to be around them because, they are generally polite and, thoughtful people. And then we all know people who are disrespectful.
Yes.
I have family members who are, can be very disrespectful towards one another. And, one of my reaction to my family of origin was I moved away at 21, far away, and I kept moving farther away because I didn't want to be around those people. Not my mother. My mother was great, but the others, I didn't want to be around them. So I arranged my life not to be around them. And, I visited, I stayed in touch, all of that. I used to call my mother every week. She's passed away now, but, you know, you don't have to be victimized by the people in your orbit. You can, like, choose to get them out of your orbit, even if you don't move away. You can
Mm-hmm.
stop relating with them. Life is short. Why bother? Um, I've so that's my thought too. If you're staying in an unhappy relationship because you think there's no other choice, then you need to really reevaluate your own values and judge and say, what is this what I want for my life? Because it's short and Putin could blow us up tomorrow.
Well,
um,
that's the case
Yeah,
to
now
say.
it's a war going on.
oh
I know it's very scary right now.
I
Thoughts
don't
for
even
people in
want to go there.
Ukraine and
Those are
over
my
Europe.
people, Ukrainian. That's
Yes, Ukrainian. Yes,
on
I
my
know.
father's side.
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh, anyway, um, so another thought, another tool, if you will, for couples, or families, even, parents with children or, whoever it is to seek a third party for an intervention. There's all kinds of counselors. It's better to not pick like a friend or a family member who's got some emotional investment in the situation. So ideally, it's, a third party that, you know, that you pay. Um, and it could be a trusted family member to speak to, your significant other. But if you don't have to drag people into it that are involved in your life otherwise, it's better. Um, so that there, and remember that there's all kinds of communication, not just verbal. Um, I always got in trouble since I was a child by making faces. If I, disagreed or disapproved of something, that they would say in school, I was making faces, and my mother would say, "You're making faces." And, that's an example of showing disapproval without speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that you do with your face, with your body, all of that communicates something. It might be that you get mad and go out and don't say where you're going and stay gone for a really long time. Maybe you're doing that because that's going to irritate the other person. Not that I've ever done anything like this. Um,
Oh, it is.
Right, Denise. We're gonna believe you right now.
but you have to consider what your behavior
Yeah.
what impact your behavior has. A good story. about a close relationship. We were living in San Francisco in a house with a bunch of people, most of whom we had known for many years. And one of the guys, we had an arrangement where he would cook for the house 4 days a week for dinner. But he began to have some medical problems, and it was getting to be too much for him to do that, but he didn't want to stop. And he wouldn't listen to us. We wanted him to stop and to put his attention and energy on his health. So what Dr. Goodman did one day, he went down to the kitchen. We had a big kitchen with a big, professional stove and all that. And he rarely cooked ever in that house. He gets out the pan, and starts getting things out. And our friend, let's call him Joe, said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm making my dinner. I told you I don't want you to cook for us anymore." And it wasn't just us. There were 14 people in the house. And that really pissed him off in a way, but it was a demonstration of not just saying we don't want to cook for you to cook for us anymore. It's like, get out of the way. I'm going to cook myself. And shortly after that, he agreed to stop cooking for the house. So that was a very loving thing, really, because it was extremely loving. And that's,
And he asked me, "Now, what do I supposed to be doing or something?" I said, "Go take care of yourself."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there's ways to communicate beyond words, by our actions. And those things are really, really important, especially when you live with somebody or they're a significant part of your life. Okay.
Yeah, I want to add on to that. We started all making dinner, and we would have make what's it menu, and then we would go ask him for his approval. And he just really was looking forward to that, and it would just really brighten his day. He was relaxed more. He really did start taking care of himself. And he even convinced us that he was doing better and showed us papers, the doctor papers, and he was okay to, and we still were like helping cook until one day he just kicked us all out of the kitchen. And so it's all right. He's back at it. He's his old self again. But
Yeah.
it was like I said this here. It's a family affair, and we just created the family of taking care of one another, and so.
Right.
And that was an exercise within itself, even just putting attention on each other and knowing that all of us would do that.
Right. It's also really important to acknowledge your significant other. Share that you appreciate them. Last week, I guess it was, we had an interaction here, Dr. Goodman and I, that I felt really good about afterwards, but I had to leave and run upstairs and do something else, and get out of the situation due to time and some other commitment. And I didn't take the time to acknowledge him and say how I was feeling, because it was good. And I was proud of him, and I didn't. So a couple days later, I told him about that. I said, the other day I didn't say this to you, but blah, 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 blah. And so, even though it would have been better in the moment, at least I brought it up again, and I remembered that I could have taken the time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing to keep in mind.
Right. And also, I had that feeling of she did acknowledge me and know and what I was doing, truthfully, just about a stroke on the head, and saying that she had to run upstairs to do something, you know. But I felt good, and I felt like we was going to get back together and talk more about it, and looking forward to Tuesday, like that. Well, Thursday, looking forward to Thursday. So it's just a learning curve for us, and another tweak that people can do is don't assume, but acknowledge that she acknowledged you, even if it's just a feeling. No, you had that thought of being gratified on what she said, what y'all said together, and she's had to go do something else, but we still had that connection of agreement and the intimacy of what we just got through talking about.
Yeah, very good. And it's also good to, when you're talking about a situation, to make statements that start with I as opposed to you. You do this, and I don't like it when you do that, and you. But it could be like I feel frustrated when you don't take out the trash on Tuesday. Um, as opposed to saying,
But I do.
he does. That was cute.
Yes, it is.
Uh, that would be better than saying you didn't take the garbage out again. Which is
So,
attack.
so basically, would be sorry to interrupt you. So basically, would be more acknowledging of frustration, but in a way that doesn't say, you're not gonna blast somebody else's head off, but just express that I am frustrated because you have not taken the garbage again on Tuesday, and I had to do it again when you said you would. It would be a better approach.
Right.
That's
Okay.
right,
Yeah.
and knowing
All right.
that she appreciate that I do take the garbage out on Tuesday, you know, uh, even when I do take it out, she said, "Oh, you took out the garbages? Oh, yes, baby." But I'm looking forward to that. Even though
I
she
like
don't
your
say
role
that.
play, Dr. Goodman. You have the sweetest voice
Okay.
ever, Denise, through Dr. Goodman. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
He had some good training from his father.
Oh, that's good. But
Yeah.
at least it's nice because it shows that it's a simple example. It's an everyday thing or, once a week thing. But at least is the fact that you go back and acknowledge Dr. Goodman when he is taking the trash, which, most people would, don't give a ding dong because at that point it's like, well, he's doing what he's supposed to. So taking the extra step to say thank you and acknowledge it is a
Mm-hmm.
plus. It's a good thing.
It
Yeah.
is, and I know she makes dinner, and I said thank you, and then she makes my plate. I said thank you, and then I take the plate back, say it was really good, thank you, you know.
It's true. I mean, that didn't used to happen in my parents' household. My father just assumed my mother was supposed to do all these things,
Yep.
uh, but it doesn't cost anything to say thank you and acknowledge the person. Being polite goes a long way with other people, and being polite and acknowledging. Genuinely, fake acknowledgement doesn't really work. I mean, if you don't really mean it, then you got a bigger problem than acknowledgement. But anyhow, we talked about a technique that is not something for couples to do with each other, but they can seek out withholds.
Okay.
Yeah, you could seek out it's an exercise called withholds, and the purpose of doing this is to reduce charge that you may have. It's not intended for two people to communicate what they feel about each other to each other. It's not the right format, but you can get what's called a withhold monitor. We do sessions with people too, where we're the monitor, and we can do withhold sessions with people. So what we can do is demonstrate the technique, and by getting in session here with each other. And the way that this is done is that you get somebody, you have to be trained on the technique, but you get a monitor who is an individual who is prepared to who gets into agreement with the exercise. And it's a confidential communication. It's a confidential session. So the monitor and the person giving the withholds agree not to talk about it outside of a withhold session. So that makes it safe. So you get into a secure room where nobody's going to bother you. There won't be any interruptions. Phones off, doors locked, no interruptions. And the withhold monitor can pull withholds by saying, tell me something you've withheld from me. And you sit facing that person. And you just put all your attention on the exercise. So do you want to do a couple?
Okay.
So if he's the withhold monitor.
Yes, and we have a little sheet where we read off, and
the instructions to the participants.
Right. And two people really do get into agreement, and it's really is more like you have a session with a counselor. That counselor is not going to go out and tell someone else. So it's very safe, to do, and it will relieve a lot of charge, so you can talk about a topic to your opposite sex, or the same sex, like that.
I like it.
So I'm gonna sit over there.
Okay.
Are you gonna go on a corner?
I'm on my knees. I'm on my knees. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
I'm just like, what are you doing on the floor?
Well, of course I'm done.
See, I think Dr. Goodman is just doing a freestyle on your side. He's just trying to impress you, Denise.
Well,
okay.
Well, I'm done.
All right. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm gonna do a session of withholds with you now. Is that all right?
Yes.
Would you like to do it instead of me? Do you remember the?
Oh, you mean me pull withholds from you?
Yes.
All right. I'll be the one pulling withholds. I'm going to do a withhold session with you now. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Thank you. The room is secure. The phones are off. There'll be no interruptions during this session. Everything that is said is confidential between you and I. It will not leave the room, and we won't bring it up with each other outside of a withhold session. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, the terminal that you want to do withholds on, do you have a particular person that you want to do withholds about?
My brother Michael.
Okay. Tell me some. Then I'm going to start the withhold session now. Tell me something you've withheld from Michael.
I haven't seen him in a long time, and I do miss him.
Thank you. Tell me something you've withheld from Michael.
During the summer, I usually go and hang out with him during Arkansas, and just hang out and reminisce and do stuff with him as well as my cousins.
Thank you. Tell me something you've withheld from Michael.
I like it that he got a new car.
Thank you. Tell me something you've withheld from Michael.
Sort of holding it in, sort of want him to come and visit me, and even though I know he's working, but I still have that want.
Thank you. I'm going to end this withhold session now. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so that's a little mini version of like a withhold session. So it really helps to be specific. So like, saying things like, I want world peace. Well, that's nice, but everybody does. But being specific about something to that person. For example, I might say something like, yesterday when you wouldn't eat the soup I made, I felt bad, which is not true because he eats everything.
That's true.
No, really.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that.
But the goal is to for the person saying the withholds,
Mm-hmm.
it relieves charge for them, right? So, if I'm running around feeling bad about he wouldn't eat my soup I made, and I get that off my chest by saying something to in a safe environment, um, then I'm likely not to feel that charge anymore, or not as much anyway.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So
Yeah, and
basically,
it can also be, the other part of withholds is overts, which are actions. So you could say, tell me something you did to me. If I was pulling withholds on me, or just being a generic monitor.
mm-hmm.
So you could say, something like, when you turned your back, I put more salt in the soup because you never put enough salt.
I had a couple of Valium in your drink when you were around. You didn't look around.
That would be good.
Really.
Oh,
I
that's
crushed some happy pills so you could go to sleep faster.
Yeah.
um,
And yeah, as well as the withhold that people don't say much to each other is "I love you."
Oh yeah.
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 The greatest withheld is withheld love.
Love.
So anyhow, we do sessions, with clients that about withholds. We either can run sessions for them via video conference call, over the many platforms that are available to us. These are sessions that we charge people for. We also train with hold monitors, so those things are available, and can be really helpful tools for individuals if they want to incorporate them into their lives. But the whole point is you don't do withholds on each other to each other, because then you probably end up having to fight.
Yes. I will agree so on this one.
Yeah.
You need a safe place, first of all, I believe, to be able to speak freely and really express ourselves. And I think if it's a one-on-one with somebody who um, can do that and is not somebody related
Right.
to me or to anybody, it makes it easier to be able to talk about it. That's what I would say on my side by
That's
listening to
right.
it.
That
Yeah.
is same like getting a counselor, or a third party who's not invested in you personally.
Yeah.
Ideally you're paying them for a service, a professional service, and that makes it that just changes everything.
And that's somebody who can judge you or you feel you're going to be judged. You know what I mean? If it's somebody
Right.
close to you and knows you, they may be just say, what was wrong with you?
Right,
But
because you don't care if the therapist
yeah,
thinks you're sure,
yeah.
right?
And that's
Because
why.
that you're the customer,
Yeah.
and you're uh, it, and a good therapist wouldn't think you're a jerk, or they
yes.
might, but they wouldn't let you know it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you totally get out of hand and start being a jerk, I will call you on it. But yes, it's a lot of them out there. You're going to be a jerk. I'm going to be a jerk right along with you. So that's not the goal. The goal is to diminish the anger and fights and frustration, so people can relate with each other like they did when they first met. Uh, so they don't really think about that, but as time goes on, they don't forget why they met, why they're together, you know. And like she was saying, they end up being together because of the kids, some financial reason, but they don't really uh, care about each other. So that really takes a toll.
It does. How long generally does session last? If you do a session like that with somebody.
Withholds,
Yeah.
like
15 minutes, 20 minutes.
15 minutes at the most. After that, it gets kind of fatiguing. So the 15 minutes would include, as we run the instructions all the time anyway in every session, no matter how many times you've done it. And then, you actually do the session, and then we do what's called a restoration of havingness at the end. So from beginning to end, about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Well, about 30 minutes. If it's reading it and doing the respiration of having this, you want to bring them down. But yeah, 15, 20 minutes, that's why I said 15, 20 minutes, But to really get them back in their body is to really do a 30-minute session, and then they feel like they can drive, and then they might want to bring up something else, so it goes on and on. We don't like do it and push them out the door.
Right.
No. So that'll be a no. So.
Well, no, because you try to calm them down. So if they're still hyper, then you want to make sure they can, calm down and be more centered.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did have a client that was just going on, and once they calmed down and talked, they realized they were saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
that happens.
that happens.
Yep. Been there.
Yeah.
Different
way to express it, but been there.
Yeah.
Right. So, those are, that's our, that's kind of our repertoire there. There, there's all kinds of things people can do together to improve their communication. Um, a really good thing to do, especially for people like me who can be a hothead sometimes, is to stop and think about what it is you're, about to say or do, because doing things impulsively can create problems. If you had, 2 minutes to think about it, you might not make that same choice.
Yes, that is a training on its own.
Hmm.
Yikes. Yeah, I do know
Right.
that for that because I'm hot headed too. So
Yeah.
yeah, it can be difficult too.
Right.
So
Okay.
how do you ground yourself, and what do you tell yourself if I have to stop and think? What do you say to yourself,
You
Denise, just
said it right
before?
there. You just said it.
Stop and
Stop and
think.
think.
Yeah. Something that works for me is, I'll remove myself from a situation, and, I'll walk into my bedroom, which is, pretty much my sanctuary. Um, and, or I'll go for a walk if the weather's nice, or go to the grocery store, just because there's always something you need at the grocery store, no matter what. But I'll get myself away from the immediate situation until I can, like, process what's going on. And clearly there's all kinds of degrees of things. Just
Yep.
walking into another room is not as drastic as getting in the car and driving away. But it doesn't have to be some big deal. Just clear. Go into the grocery store and you have something else to think about for a little while. What do I need? Do I need anything? There's always something you need.
Yeah, I do that. Just going out there in the garden, and just uh, whether I'm gonna plant anything or not, just put my hand in the dirt, and turn it over, and uh, look at the flower. I mean, at the plant, at the vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
like that. Few times I just for the hell of it, I named one of the vegetables.
You named it?
I named it, because it was growing,
Uh-huh.
and so I just named it, and I said, "Oh, you grow a little bit more today," and stuff like that. So
You
it's just,
Mm-hmm.
talk to it.
yeah, just talk to it,
Yep.
and you sort of get in agreement with yourself, and it just clear thoughts. It clear the thoughts that you want thinking about, that you feel like you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard to do. Or somebody says something that why you can't do it. It's you let all of that go. Because this here vegetable's going to grow. Especially if you water it. And uh, aerate it, and like that, and talk to it, so you have a winning moment
Yeah.
with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. A winning moment. Often we don't think about having ourselves win, um, because it doesn't feel good if you're angry or um, displeased about something. One way to get rid of negative feelings is to get into agreement with what is. Um, and by that, I don't mean accepting, somebody's beating you over the head with a baseball bat. The goal is not to get into agreement with it. That would be wrong.
Yes.
But
I would say no.
right, yeah. But if for example, I mean, this may seem trivial. If I want to make, I want to cook something, but one of our housemate here likes to cook too, but it doesn't really work if we're trying to cook at the same time. So I could walk into the kitchen and see that she's getting ready to cook something, and I could be all disappointed because I wanted to cook then. When or I could just get into agreement with it and be like, okay, she's cooking now. I'll cook later, or I won't cook today. Whatever it is. But I don't have to, be all disappointed and upset. It's not worth it at all.
Yeah. Even maybe you like what she cooking. You throw a couple more things in there, and y'all cook together. No.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but like I said, all limitation are self-imposed. So it's on us to be in agreement with what is now, and that is your current circumstances. No.
Right. Like we don't have to be in agreement with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, because it's just so reprehensible and morally wrong. But I digress. But there are things about the circumstance that you can be in agreement with, like the sanction. Here we have a terrible, awful thing that's happening. It's criminal. It's murder. But we can be in agreement with the sanctions that the world leaders are placing on Russia. That kind of thing. But it doesn't mean you have to compromise your values or stay in an abusive relationship. I mean, there are women especially that stay in abusive relationships because they don't know they don't know what to do, or they have such low self-esteem that they're willing to put up with, somebody who's battering them either emotionally or physically, because emotional abuse is just as bad.
Right. Yeah.
I
They
agree
want to
with
be
you on that.
approved.
No, and the worst part is the scar we don't see.
Is what?
The worst part is the scars we don't see.
The
and
scars you don't
emotional,
see.
we do
Right.
not see the scars. We don't know.
Yes, and emotional scars you ain't gonna never see. Just the expression on their face, knowing that they is not being treated right, and they not happy. But all the abuse that they take day in and day out, they trying their best to hide that, with a fake smile.
Yep.
And so, yes, that's why a lot of people end up in jail or prison because she said, I'm not going to take it no more. I got this butcher knife. I'm just going to cut his head off.
Yep.
And a lot of times they go at the second head.
I know.
So, that's our shtick on communication.
Do you have any other tip then you could give about how to communicate with your mate? Because I like the fact that the reinforcement, acknowledgement.
Positive reinforcement.
Yep. The fact that you acknowledge also if you feel frustrated or you're ready to implode in somebody else's faces because they're not doing what they're supposed to do, or you ask them to do something and they did not. Instead, then verbally saying you did not do this, blah blah blah. You modified it by talking about the feeling. I am feeling upset, or whatever you want to call it, because you were supposed to take the garbage. Dr. Goodman, you were supposed to take the garbage at 6:30, and you did it at 6:35. What is wrong with you?
Wow. In that case, I'd say check your values. See if it's really important. But I think, and a really critical thing is if you're really charged up or upset about something, is to not engage with the person at that time, because you're not in your right mind if you're upset. That's what I said, like, maybe go for a walk, go to the grocery store, go into another room, go do something that you like, that you enjoy, that's going to distract you. You know, maybe you want to think about what's going on that walk, or maybe you don't, but you need to get yourself into a calm state and think about, why am I angry? What can I
Yeah.
do differently? And then come back and make a deliberate appointment with your significant other to maybe, like, to talk about this issue that you're having disagreement about or upset about. Make a date to go to lunch.
Oh, they're going to be back in just a minute. The time has dropped, and I totally lost track of that too when they were talking. So that's a very interesting thing. The other thing too, I want to point it out as well, is the awareness, because Denise, you mentioned that we need to stop ourselves on our track, which you're aware of your own energy and how your mood can change or how you can get upset. But I think there's a lot of people who don't. They go on autopilot and they don't stop themselves basically before they implode. They don't think about, oh, I need to, they don't have in the habit to just, okay, now it's heating up. Now I'm being upset. I'm aware of my energies. So I'm going to step back and go and do something else and come back when I'm calmer. And as you said, go to a lunch, have a conversation, and or dinner, having a conversation in public, just having, eating and connecting. But I think there is a step that most people are missing is by the time they're starting to be more upset, out of control, they are already on autopilot and ready to go to the jugular, ready to go to the fight, instead of stepping back.
And yeah, instead of stepping back,
Mm-hmm.
because the the thought that came to mind is what interests you in that person in the first place, and does it really value you, and do you really value that person, and so you have to stop and ask yourself, what do you want in the relationship, because it's not going the way that you and her are in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that we are doing? So stop and ask yourself that question, not each other, because it boils back down to who you are.
So true.
Good. Yeah, getting, you know, also, I think for many people, it's a matter of maturity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you're working in corporate America for basically all of my career, I had to learn to, there are lots of things that happen at work that can be, you know, triggering, if you will. And you can't just, like, well, I guess you could, but if you want to survive, you don't just run around blowing up at your coworkers or your boss, or, calling them names or yelling and screaming, because that's not sustainable. It's not acceptable. It used to be more so. Um, but, these days you can't, it's not okay to yell at coworkers, or be abusive to your subordinates, because people just don't tolerate that anymore in the workplace. But you learn to walk away, if you will, from triggering situations, or not respond in anger. Because it won't serve you at all. So you need to, nobody needs to do anything. You can do that in your personal life as well.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're walking around angry, frustrated, or just unhappy, and then you want to carry that on to another conversation and bring them down with you. And that's the topic you're going to talk about over and over on whoever listened to you. And so that's one of the key points of
Yes.
level of communication.
Yeah.
So like that, yeah.
So, do you help individuals who have a hot temper and could don't have the awareness of how they react to situation? Do you help people like that?
Uh, yes, I don't limit. Uh, that's why I said I'm an alternative lifestyle coach, because there is alternatives in every relationship. And for some therapists, for people's being angry, therapists for anxiety. So I have a little bit of it all, and I'm related with a lot of people's with a little bit of it all. So I dealt with it myself. Excuse me. Just by excuse me. Just by being dyslexic, I have the feeling of, okay, I'm dyslexic. I don't know. No, I don't know. I know. So, but instead of having that I don't know feeling, uh, my parents and relatives encourage me. So it's the level of encouragement that that person have. There is some therapists, really don't care about your feelings. We is doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then I don't really claim to be any one special thing. You know, I will give you the experience that I have, went through, and I think me myself, I had pretty good experience, and I feel like I went through them and I succeeded. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I would tell somebody on my suggestion on how I did it, but I wouldn't give you uh, saying to do it the way I did it, because
That's right.
yeah. So
No,
and
but
that
you can
one,
bring, by your experience, you can bring the awareness to that person because it comes down to how aware are we of our changes of mood. And too many times we go on a fly or fight mode because it's a reflex, because we have been doing it all of our lives. And learning to stop ourselves on our tracks can be a little bit more challenging at the beginning, but when we're aware of it or we get some pointers, it helps us to do that. Because I've learned a long time ago with the hot temper I have to step back and knowing if I feel inside of me the energy boiling, I'm like, okay, we're going to stop the conversation and take it later on. I said, I'm stopping right there, and I walk out of the room. And it can take maybe a week after. Then I will sit down and come back to that conversation. But being able to stop ourselves on our tracks, I think, is the key, especially when you're in a relationship and you love the person, but you don't want to tear each other apart. Then there is a
Right.
way that both of the partners need to respect each other, because some of them, and I've seen it in corporate as well, that when conversations start to be heated, they want to continue the fight, and it's like we're not listening to each other anymore. So that's nothing here at this point. It's just a fist fight. It's just throwing more oil to the fire, but it doesn't do anything at all. And I think couples need to acknowledge each other's that we agree to disagree, but we have to respect each other and learn that if one pulls out of the conversation, then we need to do the same instead of chasing the person in the room and try to continue to have a conversation for, that will not be beneficial. So that, I think, is something people need to learn as well. We all need to learn or be reminded of.
Yes, being unaware of your awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, so you just aware of what it is that you are doing right now, because you're assuming that that other person know how you are feeling, and you done did this once before, and it goes on and on. It turns into assuming. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts small for dishes that goes wrong, and then that goes after the in-laws.
Yeah. And you're not aware of that, You
It
just
just
want to
go
be
from
right. Yeah.
what, yeah, and at the end you ask yourself, it started with what? Just the dishes, just one thing on the dishes, and that was it. Like, wow, they went to a full war. Wow, it's like, okay, it's not good, but it's being able to stop and not try to continue a conversation, or but we have a tendency sometimes to do that. Maybe you guys don't, but the rest of the world, have a tendency to continue to do that, and it's learning to step back. It's not a sign of weakness, it's not a sign of retreat. It's being able to continue a conversation without tearing each other apart,
Right.
Yeah.
which is
And,
different.
people need to reevaluate their circumstances all the time. There's no uh, no prize given at the end of life for staying in a bad relationship. There's nothing to be gained from it. If you have kids and you're always fighting, how's that going to affect them?
Yeah.
If would they be happier if you separated, and we're not, and we're then happy around them instead of miserable around them. So
Yeah, like I was watching a movie, and this guy's working over 20 years at his job, and he was about to retire, and everybody was excited, and he was still in bed, and he said, "Why I get up? They're just gonna give me a gold watch."
Okay.
that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah,
No, I would say give me a couple just for the road.
really. Just gonna give me
I'm
a
just
gold
like, I
watch.
go double.
Yeah,
Guess I lost
what's
the
the point
first
of me
one.
really getting a dress for it? Really?
Yeah. I wanted one for the weekend, one for the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, but no, that is so true. It's the communication. It's how we acknowledge each other's, and like you said, a lot of us don't acknowledge the little thing.
Yeah, it's on the theme of being a mind reader. A lot of people in their intimate partner relationships think, well, he should know what I want. He should know what I like. Why? Did you ever tell him? And that goes for everything from what you might enjoy having for your birthday, whether it's you make I want somebody to make me homemade strawberry ice cream, or I want to go to the moon. I mean, there's a whole big range of things that you could want. But if you don't communicate that clearly, then you're
Mm-hmm.
likely to get instead of strawberry ice cream, you're likely to get chocolate mousse, and you might be allergic to it,
Yeah.
because you weren't clear
Mm-hmm.
about what it is that you wanted. And a little thing that we do that is not out that helps with getting what you want is making a want list. And the purpose of a want list is like not to put down big lofty goals or desires like world peace, because my partner can't create world peace, although we would all like to have that. But
Mm-hmm.
I yeah.
The story you was telling that you put your little want list on the fridge,
Yep.
and and I go and get something from that, and you go, "Oh, you're at my want list," and it was like a surprise to her as well as to me, and we both know it's right there on the refrigerator, but we sharing the emotion with each other.
Right. I can still be thrilled that I got, the yellow roses that I wanted, or whatever it is that I put on the list. It could be, paint the window in the garage, the windowsill in the garage, which is actually a thing that I
You know
want.
what I was thinking?
Yeah, you should see me looking at her. And that's something we haven't talked about that.
No, but I knew she was saying this for something. Because went from the roses to the window.
Yeah,
but it does need painting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not meant to be a to-do list for house projects, but it could include some stuff. And the idea too is to, you give people a way to win. It's like I might see that somebody else in the house has a want list, and or I visit a friend and they have want lists, and I could see, this happened once. Barbara wanted brown earrings.
Oh yeah.
And she was a friend of mine and I'm a frequent guest at her home, and it was like impossible to find brown earrings, but I make earrings. And I understood this because brown was one of my main colors too. So it was nothing for me to make a couple of pairs of earrings and give them to her as a gift. And, she had that on her want list. And so the next time I went there, I brought her some brown earrings and gave them to her. And she was thrilled. And I felt great because I could give her something that she really wanted that was hard to get in the world, but easy for me to provide. It was a total win.
So I just have to specify one thing or ask the question because I'm going to be the devil advocate. Do we put a time frame on those want lists or not? Because I'm sure some people will do that. They're expecting by next week. I want the entire thing to be at my doors, in front of me.
Well, you could put that down. It just depends how. I guess.
I don't know, because if you put the time frame, to me, it's kind of killing the mood too.
So and generally,
you know what I mean?
There are certain things that could be inherently have a time frame. Like you might say, I want tickets to the concert, and the concert's coming to town on whenever it is, right? Yeah. So, there's like a time to that, but generally not, no. People, and then you just change up your want list whenever you feel like it.
Right, yeah. At the university there was on the refrigerator
the bulletin board.
The bulletin board, yeah. Diana, she felt like she wasn't being loved, and that's what she had on her want list. Tell me you love me. And so people walked by and she said, I love you.
Oh,
I love that. That's awesome.
That costs people nothing. That is a sweet thing. But usually you don't see stuff like that.
Stuff like that, But it was just like the love we were sharing with each other,
Yeah.
And so that was fun, And one person seen Diana walking down the hallway. He said, "Oh, Diana." He said, "Oh yeah, what? I love you." And so it was another lady, she said, "Well, this was on her want list, She haven't crossed it off yet, so she still wants people to tell her that."
Mm-hmm.
Like
no,
that.
I love that I love that very much. That's a nice way to do it. I like the fact, that's why I wanted to specify that, because I'm sure people are going to hear that and say, well, I want the list by next week. But it's like, no, like you mentioned, if it's a concert, if it's something like that, yes, you want the tickets on due time. You don't want to end up over there and show up and it's all sold out and you cannot have it.
That's
But
right.
what we're looking at is for giving the time for the mate to be spontaneous, meaning it's not on your timing, it's on their timing. What you give them is a want list. Now it's up to them which day they're going to do it. You don't know. That's the surprise. For me, it's the
That's
effect of
right. And
surprise.
it's like anybody could fulfill what's on your want list. Like I
Yeah.
went to my friend's house. She
Mm-hmm.
wanted brown earrings. I mean, that I was the person to provide that. Um, it's not just it's anybody can provide what's on there. And
Right.
I think
Yeah.
one of the problems that I know one of the problems that exists in among people is that often people expect their intimate partner to provide everything that they could possibly want in a person. Oh, I
Yep.
want that person to like my cooking. I want that person to be a good husband. I want him to be a good father. I want him to be a good provider. I want him to
Mm-hmm.
be a good horseback rider. I want him to be a
Yep.
good golfer. Whatever it is, it's like, guess what? Because I like to ride horses or go golfing. Well, how realistic is it? It's unrealistic to expect to get all these things in all these, if you have diverse interests, to get that from one person.
Mm-hmm.
I used to travel a lot for my work. I was married to this guy, and uh, he loved to go to the movies. I could not stand going to the movies. I remember went to one and I reached to put my seatbelt on like I was on an airplane. So the last thing I wanted to do was to be stuck in a chair for a couple hours, when I'd been traveling all over the place. But I would let my two girlfriends that were close friends to both of us, I would let them know I was going to be gone. And, one would go to the movies with my husband, one would go out to dinner with him. It was great because they entertained him while I was gone. And I
Mm-hmm.
appreciated that. And, many people wouldn't do that or they wouldn't think to do that. But you can't expect to that person to provide everything for you and you to provide everything for them. You have to have more outlets than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's when it's an alternative lifestyle, and that's what it was. We would like take each other out, and the expectation of having sex, was out of the question. We was really enjoying the sensuality part of it and the level of communicating, and so that was a lot of fun, and so that like brings out the next thing, you know, uh, somebody put on their want list. I want to say thank you every time I see someone, and that person did, you know, but I
Mm-hmm.
love me. She walked around and said thank you.
Yeah.
You did something for me over
Mm-hmm.
the years. I just want to say thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Like
All
that.
right.
You know,
But the acknowledgement is best when it's specific and immediate.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But we was doing it at that moment and having fun at it.
Yeah,
No,
that's right.
that's the whole goal of being in the moment with each other. No, I didn't care what she was really thanking me for. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but she said that to some other person. She said, "What you thanking me for?" She said, "You did something for me over the years. I just want to say thank you." And she walked past me and said, "Thank you," and I said, "You're welcome." You know.
No, but I love it. And I love that list. I think that want list is a great way. Also, if your mate doesn't have a clue or is always, doesn't, don't know what you want, to make it a little bit easier as well to surprise you with something that will lift up your spirit and surprise you. So I like that idea of a list, just to help the communication and being spontaneous, having fun.
Right.
Just
And
one day,
it might,
pick something and
what
do it.
might be on that list is, somebody else, somebody to take out the garbage every Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
and not me.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you could put something like that on your want list.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I really like that because I said it's connecting with your mate, and they don't have to try to read your mind and said, I'm not a mind reader. I'm like, yeah, no, we know that you're not a mind reader.
Right.
So that makes it easier for everybody, actually.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I just can't believe some of the stupid stuff that people do. I had a boss once whose wife was such a castrating bitch that,
Denise.
no, true,
Sorry,
uh,
I know, but it's so funny.
that she would, like, not tell him what she wanted, like for Christmas. And I guess this was a big thing for her, to get special presents for
Okay.
Christmas.
Yep.
And instead of like a simple thing like a want list or just telling the guy, hey, I want a Gucci purse or whatever she wanted, right?
Yep.
Um, she would wait for him to get her to guess and get her some kind of present that she then wouldn't want.
She's sadistic.
It's like, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
like, give the guy an opportunity to win, by, let him know what it is you want, you know. Um, and then she's mad, that she didn't get what she wanted. Well, whose fault is that?
But she
Sometimes
hint
that.
around, yeah, but she hint around to him about all these other things, but she don't tell him what it is that she want. So he heard her said about a Gucci bag, but she wanted something else instead, and so he bought her the Gucci bag, and she didn't like it. No,
Or it was the wrong Gucci bag.
right.
It's like, I don't.
What's that? The wrong color? What's it?
Yeah, I mean, she was really like that. And these people were married for a long time. They had 3 kids. It's like, wow. Um, I guess if your goal is to torture somebody, then that's the kind of thing you do. But it doesn't serve anyone.
No, it doesn't. I would rather give the groceries list with the right picture for the bag, so at least he got the right one. And not,
Right.
yeah, and not being basically skinned alive afterward. The poor guy. I feel for him. That's bad.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's bad. That's set up somebody else's for failure right there. That's sadistic. Just that's terrible.
Yeah,
That's not right.
yeah.
No, but I do like that list. I like the acknowledgement as well and the thank you because we don't, I believe, do enough or say enough to just for little thing. If they fix something, they did something, they straight out something, or just be thankful.
That's right. And the being thankful and acknowledging somebody also gives back to the person doing the acknowledgement. It's like, if I acknowledge him and say, I really, gee, thanks for coming up and making the fire, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
like to, we have pellet stoves here. The I don't like to have to make the fire. But I always, I think I always say thank you.
Yeah, you do.
I don't assume that he's just going to make the fire and get mad if he doesn't. It's like, if he doesn't make the fire, I guess he didn't want to. And that's all right. If I really wanted him to, I'd ask. And then he will. But I don't have this expectation. I appreciate that he's, willing to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a few
Mm-hmm.
times you said, "It's pretty warm up here. You gonna make a fire?" Uh, I was making
Yeah.
a fire because I'm used to making a fire for you. You don't want the fire right now. It's okay. It was like acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Which it was. Whether she wanted one or not. I
Mm-hmm.
was doing it because I was in a habit of doing it around that time. You know,
Yeah.
and so.
Yeah, because I think people are, we as couples are forgetting all of this. And Or if there is a good dinner, somebody, someone prepared a dinner and you're there, then you can just say thank you for the dinner. And it acknowledge each other, but we're forgetting to do that.
Yeah, I think about, the way my father and brother behaved. Um, they're not bad people, but, uh, they didn't like, they weren't real big on acknowledgement either. But, and, with him, he's always will say, thank you for dinner. He will thank me every day. For something that, I don't have to make dinner. I don't cook every day. I don't feel like I'm obligated to do anything. Um, I like to cook because I like to eat well. And I like for him to eat well. But there's, and the fact that he really appreciates um, that I do cook uh,
Mm-hmm.
is makes me feel gratified.
Yeah, and those are just small one. It doesn't need to be huge.
Hmm.
That's why. And if we are more mindful, then we can do that and thank the person instead and changing from thanking the person to, have a tendency to say, oh, he has not done this or she has not done that or blah, blah, blah. It's just acknowledging the little thing right there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I brought
Yeah.
my plate up and I was gonna wash it, and she said, "I got some other stuff. I wash it. Just put it in the sink." So okay, thank you. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
it's just like that.
And that's because he was also raised like that. Not that you
Yeah.
can't learn these behaviors, but when I think about it, and I think, your parents ingrained that in you growing up, right? That you should
Exactly.
be polite and say thank you and excuse me. And I know people that came from very different circumstances than you and aren't nearly as polite. What do I smell? Okay.
That's not right. It's that.
All right. Well, this is what is great is being able to when you're living it since you're young kids, that makes a huge difference because it's part of your habits. But as adult, we can still change our pattern. That's why I like to talk about the pattern, and we can always change and relearn new patterns. So starting small maybe sounds weird to say to your mate that you have not acknowledged forever. Then just to start to do a thank you. That will surprise that person. Like, okay, maybe weird. It's like, why is saying that? But if it becomes a habit, then the other person might start to do the same thing as well. If you say thank you, well, I'm going to acknowledge you for something you have done as well.
Right. And,
Mm-hmm.
the other thing to keep in mind is that part of your own self esteem and self worth is not, not not agreeing, but not putting up with people who don't appreciate you, that are dismissive of you. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you be in a situation where you felt unappreciated and unloved? If that's the case, make a change.
And that's probably something people need to think about because it depends of your outer conditions and where you grow up and what you have seen around you as well that impacts where you are today.
That's right. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
people of either gender, but
Oh, yeah.
often women get stuck in an economic trap. If
Yeah.
if if the guy is the breadwinner or the main breadwinner, and a woman, that was what the case with my parents. My father was the primary breadwinner, so um, and my mother really didn't have a lot of options. Um, so they managed to make it work, but there were some real challenging times.
Mm-hmm. I understand. But
Yeah,
again, we can change our patterns. So sometimes
right.
it's scary to do that, but it's for our highest good. And sometimes it's better to walk away and learn who we are and learn to respect our own self first before
Yeah.
entering anyone in any other relationship, because the only problem we do, and some people do, is to run to the next relationship, which should be another unfolding disaster, instead than taking the time